Hey guys, sorry for the delay on this video, but given the circumstances around deadline day this year, y'all will have to forgive me. Even when moves seemed to be done deals, something went wrong, so I didn't want to start production on this video before January actually ended. Also, this is the first video on my channel where I'm showing my face. I'm sorry. But anyway, we are covering the top deadline day moves of this women's transfer window, which means moves that were made within 48 hours of the window closing, I'd say. So, let's start out with the biggest news of all regarding Chelsea that I'm sure everybody saw. Chelsea signed 20-year-old Dutch goalkeeper Femke Leifting. Amazing work, Paul Green. Also, just smaller news. I don't know if anybody actually saw this regarding Chelsea, but they signed superstar defensive midfielder Keira Walsh from Barcelona. Todd Bowley gotta be money laundering. That's over $1.6 million spent by Chelsea's transfer window alone. Despite varying reports over the past 48 hours about the price of Walsh, it seems the initial fee is around 550,000 euros, which is crazy. Not just because that's a lot of money, obviously, for a women's transfer, but because Arsenal offered Barcelona over $1 million for her that summer that got rejected. At least they got Jenna Nightswanger, I guess. Weird business for Barcelona, obviously, especially since they sold her to a direct Champions League contender. To be fair, the process of this transfer was crazy. If you missed it, I'm going to try to be giving the situation full justice, but honestly, I probably won't be able to. It all started the day before the transfer deadline, when it was reported that both Walsh and Ingrid Engen had asked to leave Barcelona before the window closed. Engen had a deal on the table from Lyon, and Keira Walsh obviously had a deal from Chelsea. It was then reported that Walsh did not have permission from Barcelona to leave the country, so no one knew what was going on, and as always, women's soccer Twitter delivered. It seemed the saga came to an end the next day when it was reported that Chelsea and Barcelona had come to an agreement. Oh, but it doesn't end there. The transfer couldn't be officially recognized for a while because the Spanish FA offices were closed last night on deadline day. How? But the paperwork was filed in time. It just took the offices a little longer to process, obviously, and Walsh was finally in London. This transfer didn't actually really come out of nowhere for Chelsea, as they have needed a defensive midfielder for a while. Ingle obviously is getting older and has been out with an ACL tear for the past few months, and as talented as Nuskin is, she's not really that much of a creator that Chelsea need. Look, the midfield trio of Cuthbert, Vika Kaptein, and Nuskin they're all good players, but none of them have that deep playmaking ability that Keira Walsh possesses. And if you watched their games against Arsenal and Real Madrid recently, you could tell that they really need more of a distributor to be more creative in passing. It was a problem rapidly getting worse, and Sonia Bonpastor took care of it. Unfortunately for Chelsea fans, this will be without Eve Perisset, as it seems her and the club agreed to a contract termination. Perisset wasn't getting much playing time for some reason, despite her competition being Lucy Bronze, and she returns to France for Strasbourg. Even worse news for Chelsea fans, while this does improve the chances of the club winning the Champions League, you're now going to have to deal with all the Wands fans. I'm so sorry. Because apparently these two can't be at separate clubs for more than 4 months. Now, moving on to a transfer saga somehow more stressful than a player not being allowed out of the country by their club. The whole Chloe Kelly situation. I don't know where to start with this one. A move out of Manchester City this window has seemed inevitable for months, as Gareth Taylor, for whatever reason, was just not playing his England star. But as the month went on, there wasn't really any movement on the transfer front despite continued interest from Manchester United. However, shockingly, Manchester City is not about to sell one of its better players to its direct rivals, because why would you think that would happen? Then, January 29th happened. Kelly put out a statement on all her social platforms that really put the pressure on Manchester City. Essentially, Kelly said that she wants to be getting minutes so she can make the Euros squad this summer for England. And obviously, City wasn't putting her in a good position to do that. They were not playing her at all. Remember, this was a player that scored the winning goal last Euros. Kelly goes on to say that not only her career is being affected by Manchester United, it's also her mental health that's being affected. This obviously doesn't make Manchester City look good, and it shouldn't. It's been clear for a while that Gareth Taylor is not great with player management. Then it gets wild. Late that night, it was reported that both United and Brighton had made offers for Kelly. Which is great. Obviously, City aren't going to sell her to United, but Brighton have a really great thing going on, and her going to Brighton could be a huge... And she's rejected Brighton because she prefers to stay in Manchester due to family and location. What? Look, the situation isn't her fault, but you can't force a move to a rival club because a 4-hour train ride away from family is too much. Kelly then deleted a 2023 post she made after City beat United last year, so it seems all roads are pointing to her joining United. Then a new twist entered the story that no one saw coming.
It's been right up to the deadline. It's been right up to the wire, hasn't it? So
Chloe Kelly is now an Arsenal player. Right. We've just had this in the last few minutes.
Arsenal came out of nowhere in the dying minutes, and now Kelly has returned to the club where she played for 3 seasons, even though most of those years were spent on loan to Everton. Around the time the transfer was reported, Kelly posted another Instagram story accusing City of briefing journalists against her if she signed at a new club before the window shut. What is going on? Now Gareth Taylor's in the news saying that they actually didn't block any moves for her, but obviously, I don't know, no one knows. This whole saga just seems to be really messy, and now she'll be at Arsenal for at least 4 months on loan, and she's probably just going to sign with United this summer. This is a good signing for Arsenal though, as well as Kelly, as she'll get more playing time than at City due to Arsenal's just pure lack of depth at the position. I went into it a little more in my last video about Yul Brand's transfer options, but Arsenal's only wingers are really Caldente, Ford, Mead, and Hurtig. So getting another winger in has always been a priority this window for Arsenal, and I'm pretty shocked that it took till last day. I wonder how she'll get on with the Arsenal players. Also, this whole transfer just may turn into a Mead versus Kelly battle for a spot at the Euros this summer, and I will be seated for part 2 of this. Sticking with Arsenal-related transfers, as mentioned earlier in the video, Arsenal brought in left-back Jenna Neiswanger from the turbulent Gotham FC for a reported $100,000, or 80,000 sterling to be more precise. Look, it's a pretty good move by Arsenal to sign a new left-back, especially one that has been the NWSL Rookie of the Year, because McCabe may be becoming more of a liability. What are you doing? Moving on, PSG signed USWNT veteran Crystal Dunn, which is crazy for a lot of reasons. One reason being, I always thought there'd be more fanfare around Crystal Dunn coming back to Europe. Remember, she did play for Chelsea back in the day. But it just felt like there wasn't much pageantry around this transfer. This could be for a lot of reasons though. Obviously PSG are not in the Champions League, which means they're not going to have as much media attention this year. Also, more importantly actually, her leaving Gotham would have been more shocking like maybe a month ago, but now it seems to be a mass exodus and I don't know what's going on in New Jersey at all right now. The deal is through the 2027 season, so 2.5 years, which is a great signing for PSG as they'll have her when they hopefully qualify for the Champions League next season. Look, the club overall just needs a win on the PR front. One of their players is getting booed at international matches, so it's not looking good. French rivals Lyon also made a move heading into the deadline, bringing in 21-year-old Brazilian starlet Tarciane from Houston to bolster up their center-back options behind Renard and Giles. This is obviously a signing for the long run and future, so hopefully Lyon have found their successor to Randy Renard. Notably, the total potential transfer fee is rumored to be around 1 million euros based on potential performance-based add-ons. God, I love everything about women's soccer. This transfer window has really blown everything up. Now, as I talk about successful transfers, I actually also want to bring up a failed one, which is something I mentioned earlier in the video, Ingrid Engen to Lyon. If you don't know much about Engen's situation, it's been widely rumored that she has been unhappy with the way the club has been playing her, which is not at all. She did not play at all in the semi-final or final of the Spanish Copa del Rey, which honestly is pretty fair. Totally unbiased. Engen was asked to do a lot last year, changing her position from the midfield to being a center back, and her success in that role really helped Barcelona, and it was a big reason for their continued success that season. But now she's not seeing as much playing time as last year. It just really seems like relations are fractured between her and the club, and she has to be transferred to Lyon, who had a transfer offer on the table and are direct rivals to Barcelona. While Barcelona did engage in talks with the French giants regarding her, it ultimately didn't go through, as Barcelona valued Engen at a higher price than Lyon was willing to go. Now Engen is in limbo. There have been conflicting reports around her contract with Barcelona that expires this summer. According to Maria Tikas, Engen did receive a renewal offer from the club and could choose to stay if she wanted, but there are also reports that she doesn't have an offer and that the club will discuss later, so only really Engen and Barcelona know what's going on there. Walsh leaving the club, though, could mean that Engen will get more playing time at the club at her preferred position, defensive midfielder, especially since news is just coming in that Patry is injured. If Engen doesn't get playing time in the coming weeks, the situation will only get worse, as Engen does need minutes to be ready for the upcoming Euros this summer with Norway. Speaking of Norwegian midfielders and failed transfers, It was reported that Bayern wanted to bring in Vilder Boerissa from Atletico Madrid after news of Georgia Stanway broke about the England midfielder tearing her ACL. I'm just going to quickly go over some other deadline day transfers you may have missed. Both Liverpool and Crystal Palace got busy loaning in Chelsea players Alejandro Bernabe and Anik Nguyen, respectively. Palace also brought in Jamaican centre-back Alisson Swaby from AC Milan in hopes to fight relegation. Manchester City secured Laura Weinrother on loan for the rest of the season from Arsenal, but based on Weinrother's Instagram, this may turn into be more than a loan from the club. Something that's really gone under the radar, and I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it, is that Bayern Munich signed midfielder Ariana Caruso from Juventus. It's reported that Bayern triggered the 25-year-old Italian's release clause to bring her to Bavaria. It's clear to see why Bayern brought Caruso in. Georgia Stanway just tore her ACL, and their other midfielder, Sarah Zadruzal, just tore her thigh and will be out for a while. This is also on top of summer signing Lena Oberdorf tearing her ACL before the season even began. In other words, the midfield situation is dire for Bayern, and they needed to bring in another midfielder. Speaking of the Frauen Bundesliga, more bad news has come out of Wolfsburg, as Nuria Urbano, who just won the club last season from Barcelona, is on her way to the NWSL. The club also didn't really agree to any signings this deadline day, besides from a futures contract with goalkeeper Cindy Johannes to eventually replace Merle Frams when she leaves. At least Kjelland is looking good. So just remember, whether you're happy or sad about how your club did this deadline day, just think about the fact that you're not a Wolfsburg fan or Gotham FC fan. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you think the Walsh signing will be enough for Chelsea to finally dethrone Barcelona, or if there's any other signings I should have covered. This is the 4th video on my channel, so suggestions are appreciated.